Welcome back to the Reidel Law Firm Odyssey channel. This week, there's been a big shakeup in cryptocurrency and sanctions. We're going to talk a little bit about that in a second. If you are handling international transactions, import, exports, or you deal with sanctions or afraid of dealing with sanctions, that's what we do. Give us a call. Love to help you out with that. It's changing every day. There's just a whole lot of dynamic changes every single day. It's crazy how much it's changing. So anyway, so this week, or this past week, the U.S. Treasury Department, OFAC, which is the Office of Foreign Asset Controls, which is the entity in the United States, or the agency rather, that sanctions people and places and organizations, they have decided to sanction Tornado Cash, which is really interesting because Tornado Cash is a mixer, right? It's a cryptocurrency mixer, and it's from what I understand, it is not an organization. It's purely the code, right? It's a smart contract. So this differs. A couple months ago was Blender.io was sanctioned, and they, from what I recall, they were actually an organization, right? There was people and an organization in place that directed what was happening. Tornado Cash is purely code, right? It's purely code. There are developers, obviously, but the code itself is autonomous. It is a smart contract that does what it's programmed to do. And that what it's programmed to do is mix Ethereum, or Ether, I guess is what it's called, which is a cryptocurrency. And mixing, I'm going to link to a video below that's really, really great that explains Tornado Cash, what it does, what's unique about it, and some other commentary about the sanctions. It's by Mental Outlaw on YouTube, or I think he's like Alpha Nerd on Odyssey here. So anyways, I'm going to share that link. Check it out. He has some really great details. He gets way more into the technical stuff than I would. My commentary is just based on the sanctions aspect of it. So what's really unique about this situation is that this is the first time that sanctions are placed on code, right? On a software, on a tool, as opposed to an individual or an organization or some actual physical entity, right? Or physical property. Sometimes it's airplanes that we sanction, or whatever, or ships, things like that. Now it is code, it's software that's being sanctioned. And so I say that in reality, what's being sanctioned is that you're not permitted to interact with this code. You're not permitted to use it as a U.S. person or have any type of transactions with that code, that software. So it's very interesting. It's like a total brave new world for sanctions. I found it extremely, extremely interesting. I've been reading a bit about it and reading some of the comments. Some folks in the crypto world think that this type of sanctions too far, that it's going to get overturned in court. That is probably not true. Good luck trying to overturn sanctions. The federal government has wide powers to impose and enforce sanctions. There are instances where they've imposed sanctions on the wrong person, the wrong entity, and it takes a long time to unwind that. And it's not because of a court order, typically. It's because of a long negotiated process of proving who you are, what's happening, and showing that you are the innocent party. So anyways, that's a commentary. Just it's not probably going to be overturned. This will exist and this will be ongoing. The impact for crypto users is that you got to be very careful with any of these mixers or CoinJoin, I guess the other term, I guess, or type of code that's out there to protect your privacy. You got to be really careful, because if you put your assets in one of these mixers and it becomes sanctioned in the near future, you risk, whenever you pull out those assets, you risk having them seized or your entire bank account seized. So, excuse me, what's happening is anyone who has assets that can be traced from an output or an input to the Tornado Cash code or to the Tornado Cash wallets, the mixer wallets or the dispersal wallets, or maybe even liquidity wallets, things like that. Any assets are coming from transactions involving those wallets or those codes, right? That smart contract, are liable to be frozen, what's called blocking in sanctions terminology, and to be seized, right, turned over. What's funny about this situation is that that's what's supposed to happen, right? And it's usually very straightforward because in the past it's a person, it's a company, it's a piece of property that is sanctioned that you, if any U.S. person or a bank or anyone involved in business or something sees it and it comes under their control or possession, as a U.S. person, the law says you got to hold it, you got to block it, you can't use it, you have to freeze it, and you're not allowed to do anything with it, and potentially it may be seized by the government. Now, because this stuff can't be seized on the blockchain unless you put it into a centralized exchange or something, what's really fun, it's funny because there are situations now, basically the crypto community is trolling essentially the U.S. government and OFAC by transacting with the Tornado Cash smart contract, right? They're still transacting with the chain. You can still access it because you can't block smart chains, right? You cannot take those down. They exist in a decentralized world where you take one server down, there's 3 more behind it, and it's multiplying every day, right? You can't stop that. So what's happening is the crypto community is now transacting on Tornado Cash smart chain and withdrawing, a tenth of a ether or whatever, and sending it to known celebrity or important people's addresses, wallet addresses, right? So whether it's their donation page or something or charity or whatever, people are sending them basically tainted cash, right? Tainted ether that has been involved with this sanctioned chain now, and dumping it into these celebrities' accounts. Like Jimmy Fallon was on there, some other singers and songwriters or whatever, and celebrities. So now by virtue, what should happen, and this is what's typical in the sanctions industry, is that what should happen is that individual, when they receive those funds and any other funds in that account or that wallet should be blocked, right? Should be frozen and should be investigated. And it's going to be very, very interesting to see if the centralized exchanges who are receiving some of these tainted Tornado Cash transactions will actually do that. What they could do is they could ignore that amount of transaction, right? A 0.1 ether. Within a certain time frame, they're just going to disregard it. But legally, they're not supposed to do that, right? The centralized exchange will be liable for that. So there's significant risk involved if the centralized exchange or whomever has custodial control over those tainted transactions, if they don't take the steps that they're supposed to with funds or assets that are tainted from sanctions, if they don't do that, they become liable now in money laundering laws and money laundering rules and whatnot, and they're liable to be sanctioned. So it's going to be very interesting to see if like Jimmy Fallon and all these celebrities, if their wallets and ether are going to be sanctioned and blocked. It should happen. I think right now a lot of the centralized exchanges and anti-money laundering specialists like myself are trying to figure out what to do. But it's just, I don't know. They're never going to stop it, right? This type of stuff, this is proving the futility of sanctions in the cryptocurrency space. It's impossible. You're not going to be able to stop this stuff. It's going to drive it further underground. People are going to have, Tornado Cash. It's available on different nodes, on different servers now. The same chain, so none of those transactions are lost. If you have cash or assets in Tornado Cash being mixed, you can still access it. You just gotta look into the details on how to access the right servers or nodes. So it's an exercise in futility, and I know I'm running up on time limit here. I don't want to spend too long chatting about it, but it's really, really interesting from a sanctions perspective. I might do a longer chat with this in the future. But it's, sanctions don't work. They don't work on the macro scale. They're not going to work on the micro scale. I practice this. This is what I do every day. I help, companies avoid triggering sanctions rules and complying with regulations as they can so that they don't get dinged. But ultimately, this stuff doesn't work. I'm a practitioner. I know. So take that, and hope you enjoyed it. It's pretty interesting. Comment if you have any questions or if you want me to expand on anything. I'll be watching it. I'll probably do a little longer in-depth video in the near future, just digging in a little deeper about reasons why sanctions don't work and what the risks in the cryptocurrency world are, and ways to escape some of the coming sanctions and things like that. Oh, and then coming sanctions. So just to mention, there are some others that are already being highlighted by OFAC that might be coming next. And I'm trying to remember, God, it escapes me now. I don't have it in front of me. But there's another mixer out there that is likely being targeted. You know, Blender.io went down earlier this year. Now Tornado Cash. I know one of the other big ones in the cryptocurrency privacy space is like Samurai Wallet, which runs, I guess, Whirlpool or Whirlwind or something, which I think is a fork of CoinJoin. I forget all the technical details, but anyways, if you are doing business with those folks or have assets there, I would start putting contingency plans in place, right? Because those probably are going to be coming up next in a matter of months. I imagine those smart contracts and those mixing chains will be sanctioned soon for U.S. citizens and U.S. persons. So anyways, hope you found that interesting. I am Skylar Rocky Reidel with Reidel Law Firm. We handle international trade law, so import-export transactions. We do anti-money laundering law. We also do franchise law. And we do it well. If we can help you out, reach out. Love to chat with you. Until then, we'll see you next time.